Hello, hola, and bienvenidos a Benny's Alternate Universe, the show where I invite you to come into my world, check out what's going on with my tape collections, and we talk about what's good. So I got a new tape this week, and I'm very excited to review this. This was one of my favorite tapes as a kid, and you can tell I was just rocking out to turn that down a little bit. There we go, just so we don't have to yell. This is by one of the greatest bands ever, and at times, definitely not one of the greatest bands ever. I have to apologize because I don't usually redo the videos on the channel. We just wing it, and that's a lot of the fun. But my last video came out very dark, so dark in fact that it was really illegible to the eyes, so I decided to redo it. It's a tape that's very close to my heart. Metallica, Garage Days revisited, the $5.98 EP. Actually, it's the other way around. The $5.98 EP, Garage Days revisited by Metallica, is a covers album that Metallica put out in 1987. And there was a lot going on in Metallica Central in 1987. Just a quick overview of the band. Bay Area thrash band from childhood friends Lars Ulrich on drums and James Hetfield on guitar, vocal, and songwriting. And James Hetfield, I might add, is one of the greatest singer-songwriters of his generation for his work in Metallica. They put out an album in 1983 called Kill 'Em All. It's a classic of heavy metal, thrash metal. Had some great songs on there, Seek and Destroy, Four Horsemen, No Remorse. They, prior to recording that album, had just gotten rid of their original lead guitarist, Dave Mustaine, who we will remember had a lot of success and fame as the singer-guitarist of Megadeth, one of the other big four, so-called big four bands of thrash: Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Anthrax. And he did alright for himself too. So he didn't appear on any of their albums, but he was their lead guitarist, the original lead guitarist. And there's a lot of bootlegs of Dave Mustaine playing with Metallica, and I believe he also played guitar on their No Life Till Leather demo, which I didn't. We're only talking about official releases at the moment. So, 1984, they released Ride the Lightning, another huge classic of thrash and metal in general. Some of the songs on there: For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, title track, all classics. 1986, they released their album Master of Puppets, which most metalheads would consider to be the best Metallica album. And I'm not going to dispute that, although personally I don't know if it's my favorite. It's definitely incredible and one of the greatest metal albums ever released by anyone. So that was good. Bad news was they took it out on tour, opening for Ozzy, crushing it, and there was an accident, I believe in Sweden or some Scandinavian region, and the whole band was in a bus accident. Bassist Cliff Burton died in the accident. So Metallica, being Metallica, all Metallica knows how to do is work. So, especially at that stage in the game, because they had worked so hard and risen so high after Master of Puppets that, like AC/DC before them, they decided to keep it going. And so they were searching for a new bass player. They had gigs coming up. Castle Donington, the Monsters of Rock. So they hired this guy, who in your view is going to be on the far right, far left. It's kind of hard to tell the way the phone flips things. Jason Newkid. And so Newkid was in, and it was time to rehearse his ass. So they took him out to Lars's garage in somewhere, California. And for those of you who are lucky enough to see the original review that's been locked out now, kudos. This is a rarity, and I hope you downloaded it, and maybe at some point in the future, files will have some monetary value, because at the current time they don't. It's one of the reasons I like to collect cassettes. These have resale value, and these, some gain value, some lose value, but when I download a file, that's it. They take my money, and really can't do JS with the file, so I prefer my tapes. That's one of the reasons. Let's not get off onto a rant here. Let's talk about 1987 Metallica. Metallica Mark, I don't know, 4 at this point. They had a lot of lineup changes. James and Lars were the only originals left. So they're set up in Lars' garage. They start playing some cover tunes, and these cover tunes, in my opinion, really gelled really nicely, and they recorded 6 of them for this tape. They recorded Helpless by Diamond Head, The Small Hours by Holocaust, The Weight by Killing Joke, Crash Course in Brain Surgery by Budgie, and a medley of Last Caress and Green Hell by the Misfits. So one thing you might notice as a learned metalhead, as you look at this track list, is that these songs are totally obscure. And even people who are, versed in this kind of music, which I know a little bit about it, and I definitely know people who know more than me, don't listen to Budgie, they don't listen to Holocaust. So this was brilliant because, what happened is that the Metallica versions were not being compared to the original versions, at least not in my mind. Of course, I was a kid when I heard this record, so buttons. So it was different. It was different for me. I didn't have that frame of reference, but now that I'm grown and I know a lot more about this 80s kind of obscure metal, these still aren't songs or bands that are well known, as if they had covered, let's say, Motorhead. A lot of people listen to Motorhead in the metal community, even beyond the song Ace of Spades. So, if they were to play Iron Fist or something like that, then you would compare it to the Motorhead version. But these songs really, Metallica owns these tunes, and they own them so great, and they play them so great. I'm gonna break down this track list because the flow of this record is awesome, and this is a great record to listen to first thing in the morning as you're preparing for your day. It'll give you just such a great feeling and very empowered and energetic. It's just awesome. And I do get, endorphin rush when I listen to this record because it was one of my favorites as a kid. And, in my household, metal was not something that was allowed. And Metallica and Black Sabbath in particular were really totally forbidden. 2 of my favorite bands, by the way. And I always say, when I grow up, I'm going to listen to whatever I want. So to have my Garage Days cassette back in my hands, this is not my original. I bought this on eBay. I was thinking about it after I did the Misfits review because of Green Hell. It's a great feeling. So, Helpless, the first track, the Diamond Head cover, is really upbeat, killer thrash song. And it has great lyrics, too. He's talking about trying to achieve his destiny and this and that. And it really gets you going on all 10 cylinders. The next tune, Small Hours, I think is my favorite on Garage Days, and it's one of my favorite Metallica recordings in general. It's on right now. Such a deep groove in that. That definitely makes me think about Soundgarden, what they would be doing in a couple years, because this is 87. This is when Soundgarden was doing Ultra Mega OK, but that riff, and then it also takes me back to like a Sabbath riff, especially on the chorus when he starts playing it. And I try to get through to you. And I remember being a young guitarist and learning that riff, and it was just so much fun to play. And this is a great record for young guitarists, too, who want to learn the Metallica style, because it's got some of their easier riffs. Or I should say beginning guitarists, because, we can learn things at any age. You don't have to be young to learn how to play guitar. Not trying to be some kind of ageism over here. The Weight The Weight comes up next, and this is a slightly more up-tempo, but also mid-tempo tune. The slow breakdown that's really cool and kind of ominous. That's a Killing Joke tune. I never got into Killing Joke personally, but I know they have a following. I've heard the original versions of all these songs, like later on in life. The only one that I knew, you know, when I was a kid, it would have been after I got this anyway, because I would have got this probably in 89. 88 or 89. After I learned about Metallica through the video for One and Justice for All, and then I had friends who, you know, clued me into the back catalog. So I was a Metallica fan at a very young age, when they were still a thrash band and when they were totally dark, and it was cool. Coolest band in the land at that time. So then, okay, here we go. So The Weight's cool. Then comes Crash Course in Brain Surgery, which is just rad. It's one of the greatest Metallica recordings, in my opinion. Not only because it's a great tune from Budgie, but the performance is so raw, and it's just like they just hit that pocket so good. Ba-na, 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 da, ba-na, ba, ba. And a lot of great like groove-oriented riffs on this tape. And Metallica is awesome when they get in that mid-tempo to slow tempo groove, such as Thing That Should Not Be, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Sabbath True, Wherever I May Roam. That's why I like the Black Album now. I didn't like it that much when it came out because I was already down with Metallica, the heaviest, hardcore, deadly serious thrash band that they were. And so it wasn't heavy enough at the time, but now I see it for what it is, and it's a great album. So the album ends with Last Caress and Green Hell. Last Caress was a song that kids, young kids, like 9 or 10-year-old kids like myself, it was extremely shocking, and it was also like fun because of the shock value. I got something to say. I raped your mother today. You know, I mean, this is like, it was a different culture too, so, you know, I didn't even know what the word rape meant when I heard it on Injustice for All, and he said Lady Justice has been raped. So what does that mean? When I looked it up. He also says, and of course these aren't his lyrics, these are Misfits lyrics from Glenn Danzig, but he also says I killed your baby today. So that was really fun for us kids when that song would come on, and we definitely sing it, you know, and be bad. But as an adult, that is got to be the weakest track on here for me. Not that it's bad, but just they put it over the top, and I would use the word zazz. Just let a zazz on it. There's a little added sparkly harmonies and guitar parts, and it doesn't have the filthiness of the original. But still great tune, and it's short. It's just part of the medley, which ends with Green Hell. And Green Hell is a ripper. Green Hell is fantastic. It's a tune that was made for Metallica to play. They play it just as good, if not better, than the original. It's hard to draw the comparison because the original is fierce, and the Metallica version is more about precision. It's really one of the most precise moments on this whole record, which has, okay, this album has a raw sound. It has a swinging groove to it. At times, it can be a little bit loose, especially in the drums, but that's quite cool with me. You know, I like when Metallica gets outside their anal zone. When Metallica stops being so anal, and it says not very produced by Metallica. And so they released this tape in 87 to coincide with their show at Castle Donington, and I think it was well received. I know it was definitely well received by me and my friends. Love Garage Days and consider it, you know, as much a part of their discography as anything that they've ever done. Definitely one of their best. One of the best from one of the best, Metallica. And I still am gonna So go ahead and consider Metallica one of the best, you know? I don't care. I went through all that, you know? I hated Metallica for a long time because of the bad records they made. I felt that they let us down as fans, but first of all, they bounced back a little bit with Death Magnetic for me. I thought that was a cool record. I enjoyed it. I replayed it a lot, which is the true test, you know, as opposed to, say, Soundgarden's King Animal, which, nothing but love for Soundgarden and Chris Cornell, of course, but as a lifelong Soundgarden fan, I wasn't blown away by it, and I had been waiting 18 years for it to come out, and I didn't play it that much, so, you know, Death Magnetic I wasn't waiting for. I'd given up on Metallica. It was a damn good record, and I'm just now starting to get into Hardwired, and I think it might be a decent record too. You know, you can't always compare what they're doing now to what they did when they were younger. Sometimes it's better just to be objective and say, is it good or is it bad? Do I like listening to it or not? I don't know. What do you think, Iggy? I can see the playback here, and I can see, you know, he's like, it's cool. It's a good angle today on Benny's alternate universe. So, oh yeah, so we gotta rate this mother. I got my ducks up in here. Remembered my ducks this time. Okay, so I gave this one 5 ducks. Fun is the name of the game at Garage Days revisited. Definitely try and seek out the original too, because it appears on Garage Inc., and I feel that it kind of loses something being surrounded by the other covers that Metallica did, which were of varying quality and enjoyability. So, fun times, Garage Days. Listen to it when you want to feel good and have some good time. Metal, you know, it's almost like Priest or something like that. If you want to listen to metal but you don't want to feel bad, give Garage Days a spin. Of course, it's got longevity. It's been playing since 1987 with no signs of stopping. It's got that something special that only Garage Days can give you. I think something about the flow of the track list really is one of Metallica's best records. Sorry, things are happening over here, you know, just want to make sure I don't run out of time on the review. The Attitude Duck, Attitude from Metallica in 1987, well, the liner notes tell you it's not very produced. It tells you that their new bass player's name is Jason Newkid, as opposed to Newstead, and there's a lot of funny stuff in here. This essay by James Hetfield is priceless, talking about the making of the album. I'm not going to give it away, though. You can find that for yourself. And that's not on, you know, you could click on this on YouTube and listen to a file. That's fine. I'm going to stop you. I prefer not to. I like to hear the tape as it was intended. Full program on each side, so it's really convenient. It's a long tape, 25 minutes, so I think you get a lot of bang for your $5.98. And just a side note, you know, when Metallica lost Cliff Burton, they weren't just losing a bass player in a metal band. This guy was a really huge, important part of the band. So it's always impressive that they were able to continue their career and have as much success as they did. And that's one thing that we should respect Metallica for, is they did, you know, they came from the underground. So whatever corny stuff they did, which maybe they did, they came from the underground, driving in their van, playing clubs, playing uncompromising thrash metal for many years too. And they survived losing one of their best guys. I mean, there was a bass solo on their first album, full song, bass solo. It said bass solo, take 1. They didn't add that as a tribute. That was how important, you know, he was to their sound. So let's not gloss over that in the middle of our duck rating system. See, this is why I don't redo shows, because I'm thinking back to the original review, what I missed. But anyways, yeah, Metallica, 87, Attitude, of course. Just to release this album shows a lot of attitude. There's no hits on it, and it's a covers album, okay? That was Alcoholica, you know, like they big attitude from Metallica, 87. About to get bigger, because they're about to release And Justice for All. I wish they would have recreated the sound of this album a little more for Justice, but honestly, I never had a problem with the sound on Justice. Okay, so it's lacking in bass, whatever. It's my first Metallica album that I got heavily into, and Love it. Like to note that, I'm not even going to note it. Whatever. It's Garage Days. I was going to say something about Metallica's tendency to put one ripper at the beginning of the album and another even more severe ripper at the end, as in Battery and Damage Incorporated and Blackened and Dyer's Eve. They also did that on this album with Helpless and their crushing version of Greenhouse, which is then appended by a very poorly played intro of Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden. And I can say with all due respect to Metallica that it was poorly played. I think they know that. And I think that was part of the fun factor. Finally, is it heavy? Is Metallica in 1987 heavy? Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say it's pretty GD heavy, and it's pretty awesome. And if you like thrash metal, if you like Metallica, if you like to have a good time and rock out, this is definitely an album worth picking up. A lot of cassettes still available on eBay that I saw. So if you're into the cassette collecting scene, great one from Metallica. Thank you so much for spending this little period of time with me here in Benny's Alternate Universe. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.